The attire of ancient Greece evolved from the traditions of the Minoan civilization on Crete, 2000 to 1450 BC, and the Mycenaean civilization, 1700 to 1100 BCE. It continued to transform during the Archaic era, 8th century to around 480 BCE, and reached its most iconic form in the Classical era, circa 480 to 323 BCE. Generally speaking, much of what is known about ancient Greek clothing represents mainly the upper class, as they were frequently shown in artworks. In the Minoan period, upper class men of the court appear to have primarily worn loincloths, a cloak, sandals, and occasionally a headpiece, while women were mostly covered except for their exposed breast. The Mycenaean style was inspired by the Minoan, but during the Archaic period, clothing became simpler and stayed that way through the Classical period. The materials were linen or wool. Linen was more expensive and only available to the upper class, while spinning wool was widely practiced by women in ancient Greece, and was used to make clothes for all classes and every age group. Dyed clothing also was only available to the wealthy, as were garments decorated with prints and weights at the bottom to make them drape across the body and hold securely.
The chiton is the most common garment that both men and women were wearing, typically linen or wool, draped around the body and fastened with pins or clasps, often under the arms or at the waist. For men, the chiton was usually shorter, while for women it was longer, often reaching the feet. Then we have the imation. The imation was a large rectangular woolen cloak draped over the body. It was worn over the chiton, often by men, but also by women in certain situations. The style of imation was wrapped elegantly around the body, covering the shoulders and sometimes the head, depending on the need. It gave a very sophisticated look and was often associated with dignity or authority. Then we have the peplus. The peplus was a garment primarily worn by women, often simpler and more closed than the chiton. It was a rectangular piece of fabric wrapped around the body and fastened at the waist with pins or belts. The style of the peplus was thicker than the chiton and was sometimes worn with a cloak or himation on top. It was often decorated with embroidered patterns. Then we have the strophion. The strophion was a band of fabric wrapped around the chest to support the breasts. It wasn't a modern undergarment, but rather a band that provides support while remaining distinct under the outer garments. In summary, ancient Greek fashion was characterized by simplicity in design, and functional use of materials, and a discreet elegance. Clothing was often designed to highlight natural beauty and comfort while respecting the social and religious norms of the time.
Ancient Roman clothing was more than a necessity. It was a clear assertion of social status, identity, and character. Each element of attire, from fabric to jewelry, carried a significance that extended beyond aesthetics and practicality. Fashion was not only a reflection of personal taste, but also a medium through which individuals showcased their role in society and adhered to societal norms.
In Roman society, women traditionally played a central role in the production of clothing. Weaving and fabric creation were considered essential duties for Roman women, even among the aristocracy. These activities symbolized their commitment to their household. They prepared the woven wool for use by cleaning, shrinking, and pressing it.
Garments of ancient Rome. The first garment is the toga. Symbolizing Roman citizenship and social status, the toga was a semicircular draped cloth that varied in color and embellishment to reflect the wearer's rank or occasion. The second garment are the tunics. Everyday wear for men and women, tunics were simple garments made from wool or linen. They were typically sleeveless and belted at the waist, providing both comfort and practicality.
Cloaks were practical for colder weather. Cloaks came in various styles, such as the chlamys, that was pinned at one shoulder, and the palla, who was a dropped cloak for women. Then for the stola, that was exclusively for women, it was a long dress that was secured with a girdle and often adorned with decorative motifs at the neckline. For the trousers were viewed as attire of foraging enemies and barbarians. Trousers were rarely worn by Romans, except in military settings.
Hairstyles. Elaborated hair arrangements were a hallmark of wealth and status. Hairpieces, curls, and wire frameworks were used to create towering styles, particularly during the 1st and 2nd centuries. Simplified styles with waves became popular later. Hairdressing was often done by the ornatrix, a specialist slave, or in hairdressing shops, tonsors. The adornments included bracelets and armlets, worn by women and occasionally by men in military contexts. Earrings often featured pearls or gemstones. Brochures and pins, functional yet decorative, used to fasten garments. And materials, gold and gemstones symbolized elite status, while bronze and glass were common among lower classes.
In ancient Rome, clothing was a reflection of an individual's identity and their place within the complex social hierarchy. From the luxurious purple-dyed togas of emperors to the simple tunics of children, each garment told a story. The craftsmanship, materials, and symbolism inherent in Roman fashion highlight the intricate ways in which attire shaped and expressed the lives of its wearers.